Today I'm talking about lino, specifically how challenging it sometimes is to carve the traditional lino material. I have a scrap piece here. You can see I've cut some of it out. I've done a little bit of mark making tests, but I'm going to do a little bit of demoing a little bit later. One of the challenges, and the first tip I have to help make carving traditional lino a little bit easier, is you warm it up. And the way I often do it is a heating pad. And this one's kind of a nice one. I bought it because it would go over my shoulders, but now I end up using it almost exclusively for my lino. I kind of fold it up and I turn it on 2-3 minutes. You'll kind of, over time, as you kind of get used to using maybe a heating pad to warm up your lino, you'll kind of get used to how long it takes, and you'll be able to take it out and kind of feel it and feel if it's still too cool or if it is actually a little bit too warm and you need to cool it down a bit. But warming it up, absolutely, as long as it's fresh enough lino, you'll be able to carve a lot more easily. And keep in mind, if it's warmed up too much, it will actually crumble. So there's really just kind of getting used to what that temperature is, because you don't want it to be too crumbly, because you'll accidentally take out pieces of lino that you didn't mean to. My next tip is maybe consider not using traditional lino, but use an easy carve version of lino instead. So it's not traditional, it doesn't hold detail quite to the same degree as the traditional lino, but you can get a soft cut or soft carve version of printing blocks at a lot of art and hobby supply stores. You might have seen the Speedball pink lino, which I don't have any at the moment. But often it's a lot thicker and it's just really nice and easy to carve with. I'm not going to carve in this one because it's nice and fresh. I'm going to take a piece of scrap soft cut. This is a different brand. You can see it's a little bit of a different color. And I'm going to take this and just do a quick carve. There you go, nice and easy. So if you're struggling with the traditional lino, sometimes just trying and carving with the soft is worth your time. My next tip is to use a bench hook. So right here I have a bench hook, and this is fantastic for a couple of reasons. It's fantastic as a safety tool, but it also just makes carving so much easier. I pretty much exclusively carve using a bench hook. So a bench hook, it's basically, this one's wood, it can be different materials. It's basically a piece of some sort of a flat surface. In this case, it's wood. And then there's two pieces of wood at the top, as well as the left side. If you're left-handed, you want to get one that has it on the right side and the top. And then it has, let's see if this is in focus, it has this piece on the bottom. And this allows you to hook the bench hook against your table. So now it's not going to move as you put pressure this way. So you take your piece of lino, you put it in the corner like this. Now you have more leverage because you're not trying to hold the lino in place at all. All you're trying to do is, when you're carving, is to just control your tool. So it takes a lot less effort to carve using a bench hook. And like I said, if you're left-handed, you want this piece on this side so that you can carve this way. And bench hooks are fantastic because you're really kind of naturally inclined to carve away from yourself when you're using a bench hook. And that means you're at far lower risk from accidentally cutting yourself. Next up, we're going to talk high quality tools. So I've been using this tool so far to do my little bit of demo carvings, and that's because this is a really good quality tool. And the nice thing about the good quality tools is that you can sharpen them. So I can sharpen them, I can hone them, and I can make sure that I have a nice sharp tool, which makes, of course, carving easier. And I brought this one as well. This is the Speedball carving tool. It's very common. A lot of people use this. It is great as a beginner tool. A lot of artists continue to use it for a really, really long time. So if you're happy with it, there's nothing that requires you to move to the high quality tools, but you can't sharpen the blades. So see how this is to carve. I don't usually use this tool anymore. It was okay, but once this starts feeling a little less sharp, a little bit dull, I have to completely replace this blade. I can't just pull up my honing tool and just give it a little hone and have it work better. So I recommend, if you're having trouble upgrading to the higher quality that you can carve, or getting replacement blades. And the other nice thing too, about, at least for my size of hands, this tool is called a palm tool. That's because you can put it kind of in the palm of your hand and it just naturally sits there, so that when you're carving, you're able to use the power of your whole arm pushing through. It's not you trying to use your fingers or any sort of like whole hand. That makes it a lot easier. It also works with this as well, but it's not as comfortable of a fit, and I don't find I get quite as much kind of strength and power with this one as I do with this. And depending on your hand, this might be more comfortable or it might not be, but in my case, it's definitely very comfortable. Next tip is just carve bit by bit. So that just means, here, I'll use the inked up spot so it might be easier to see, is just take little carvings out. Rather than trying to go all in one go, and I don't want to go too long here. And because it's much more exhausting to your hand to try and carve a longer distance all in one go, rather than just doing bit by bit. And the other issue with trying to carve a really long piece is you'll go here, and then you go here, because you're carving whatever you're carving. But the problem that can happen is you get kind of tired, and then you accidentally go that way, and you go, oh no, I didn't mean to do that. I just took out the eye of, the bird that you were just trying to carve. And then you have to try and fix that. And you don't want to have to try and fix that. So just go bit by bit. It's less tiring, and it's much lower risk. My next tip is to just relax while you're carving. I've heard lino artists, when they're explaining how to carve, I've heard them say, get your tool ready and then tense all your muscles. And I understand the concept behind it, because you want to make sure that you carve where you mean to carve. Like, let's say you wanted to carve a little angle like that. You want to make sure that you do that properly. But if you're really tensed up, that will absolutely exhaust you and you won't be able to carve for as long. So just relax a little bit when you're carving. My next tip is to just practice. The more you carve linos, whether it's on the traditional lino, on the soft cut lino, you'll just get good and better at learning what works for you. You'll learn what tools work for you. You'll learn how far it feels comfortable to take, carve away. For some people, it might be a little bit of a larger carve, and for others, it's a smaller carve. So just practice and see what you're able to make, and what temperature the lino should be at, using, a heating pad. For some people, you might just want to carve in front of the fire or outside on a sunny day, something like that. Just learn what works for you and what makes it comfortable for you. And last but not least, listen to your body. Take breaks. Overdoing it means that you will have to stop carving. If you feel pain, stop for a while. If the pain keeps coming back, you might have to go see a doctor or physical therapist. Because the reality is, when you're carving, this is just a carving. You can see it's a little bit, it's dirty looking. That's just from I printed it, and it's just staining from the ink. But it has a ton of detail. This took me quite a few sessions. I would carve, for an hour in the evening, and then I would come back the next day. And over time, I was able to do this, like over, a few days. And had I tried to do that all in one go, I would have been exhausted, and I probably would have hurt or caused issues in my hands. So don't try to push it. And that's it. I hope it helps you carve a little bit more easily, and you have tons of lino cuts in your future.